Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's we'll be comparing the GMC Yukon XL to the Wagoneer L. Before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Jerry Sander GMC here in South Jordan, and then the Larry H. Miller Dodge Ram in Sandy for giving me some time with both these vehicles. I'll include a link to both their websites in the description down below. I'll also include a link to my Carbide guide. Let's get into it. Powering the Wagoneer is a twin-turbo 3-liter inline 6. It goes through an 8-speed, fuel economy 16 around town, 23 on the highway, with power outputs being 420 horsepower and then 469 pound-feet of torque. Powering the GMC is a 5.3-liter V8 that goes through a 10-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 14 around town, 19 on the highway, with power outputs being 355 horsepower and then 383 pound-feet of torque. Before we move forward with this comparison, I do want to mention if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Now this Wagoneer has the Carbide package, so it blocks everything out. You can see the badging's all blacked out, the headlight bezel, and then you notice feature-wise, it does have fog lights. We do have parking sensors for the front, and then the GMC you can see has got fog lights and parking sensors as well. You notice lots of chrome trim. This one has the elevation package. Now both of these vehicles have 20-inch wheels. The Jeep's completely blacked out. You can see with the Yukon you've got some silver trim, and that's kind of the theme difference, right? You've got lots of silver here on the Yukon, whereas the Jeep, they've just gone all out on blacking everything out. Both of them have fixed side steps, and then you'll notice that the rear shows the best. The Jeep has a little fender flare, whereas the Yukon does not, so that's kind of a difference. Now here's the side profile with the Yukon. And then here's the side profile with the Wagoneer. Now this is the Yukon XL, so this is the suburban version of the Yukon. Tons of space behind the third row. You notice equipment-wise, you can raise and lower the third row. You've got the function to lower the second row. You've got an outlet there in the back. But yeah, overall, very spacious in the rear. And taking a look at the Jeep Wagoneer, this has the L package, so a very similar setup. Just eyeballing it, the Yukon looks like it might have just slightly more space behind the third row, but it's very, very slight. And then you can see with the 12 volt in the back, and then you'll notice raise and lower the third row automatically, lower the second row down, so just the same as the Yukon. Now on the back of the Yukon, you guys can see here with the C-shaped tail lights, and then notice that we don't have any visible exhaust tips, which is interesting. Bezel that covers the receiver hitch and all of that. And then the Jeep there, pretty cool looking tail lights, just kind of straight across. Same thing, I mean the exhaust tip is actually visible, but it's still kind of hidden to an extent. Now we're going to start with the third row of the GMC because it has a bench seat in the second row. But anyways, nice trim throughout. You got a USB port there in the back. Good headroom and then good legroom here, like most full-size SUVs. Now in the second row of the Yukon, great legroom, got a little storage pocket, some cup holders. We've got our own climate zone, heated seats, USB ports. And then again, you've got the nice perforated trim with the seats, and then pretty nice trim on the door panels as well, so it kind of has a more upscale feel. Now taking a look at the third row of the Jeep, really nice trim, definitely more luxurious looking with the seats, nicer kind of trim in general in terms of feel. You can do the recline function, you got USB ports, and then this one has captain chairs here in the second row, so a little bit different with that. We have heated seats, we've got our own climate zone, we actually have TVs in the back with this, and then legroom's good. And I'm noticing that they've got more legroom in the third row. I think they got rid of some cargo space in this and gave more to the third row passengers for space compared to the Yukon. And starting up the Yukon, ooh, digital gauge cluster. So anyways, really nice steering wheel with this. You can see paddle shifters there on the back, and then you notice on the front we've got controls for like the heated steering wheel, for the center screen, cruise control as well, turn signal, windshield wiper stalk, and then this does have a column shifter. And this is kind of a random time to mention it, but payload's 1663 on this. Anyways, full digital gauge cluster in the Yukon. You got a little storage cubby up top on the dash, which is kind of cool. And then we have a 360 camera system with this, so that's kind of a nice bit of tech that it comes with. And then big infotainment system in general. As you can see, pretty quick response time. Pretty much everything's built into the screen. You do have physical controls here at the bottom, but that's attached to a little depiction on the screen itself. Got this little storage area with a phone charging pad, pretty big center console. Nice trim on the top of it. And see nice trim across the dash. And then got a regular rear view mirror, and then no sunroof with this. And start her up. Boom. Digital gauge cluster, just like the Yukon. Pretty cool looking steering wheel with the little kind of flat bottom design. But you've got stuff like your cruise control. You can see Wagoneer logo and controls for the center stack. Radio controls in the back. See regular stocks here. This one's got a little bit less payloads in the 1500s. So yeah, not as good as the Yukon's payload. Like I said, digital, pretty cool looking. Now this does not have a 360 camera, so the Yukon's winning on that front. Heated and cooled seats, because the Yukon just had heated seats. I'll double check when we drive it, but I'm pretty sure the Yukon just had heated. Got like a little drive mount select here. This is like our charging area, which I'm using for my GoPro right now. Some cup holders. You've got pretty cool center console setup. The biggest thing that I like with the Jeep is just the interior materials. Everything feels a little bit more high quality. Regular rear view mirror, and then you don't have a sunroof. Now when it comes to pricing, the Jeep is about $77,900, and then the Yukon's about $75,300, so there's a little bit of a pricing difference. Let's see how they perform. Setting off in the Yukon first, and then we'll drive the Wagoneer second. And man, these are big beasts. I do find it interesting, the tech difference, and this is something that I've said in other reviews with comparisons between GM product and Stellantis. Stellantis is putting the money in the wrong places in some ways. And what I mean is that Jeep should have a 360 camera. If that had a 360 camera at that price point, everything else, I mean, that'd be awesome. So they need to do less passenger screens, more 360 cameras. My 2 cents on that. Now the Yukon has independent suspension, and I like these speed bumps to kind of show you guys what that means on road. So the impact happens on each wheel independently. So this greatly helps out with ride quality. Going over something like that, right? I mean, it's still a bump right at the end of the day, but it's not bad. It goes front, back, and again, the side, so it overall is just kind of more comfortable than if you had like a solid axle. Now, aside from that, seats are pretty comfortable. They are firm. See how that compares to the Jeep seats. This interior is very interesting. One thing that I will say is they use a lot of hard touch trim throughout. I mean, they've got stitching all over it. So I think that this is stuff that you never touch anyways. So it doesn't matter if it's hard to the touch. But it is something to note. There's definitely more kind of plastics in here. And I'm really wondering, like, what do you guys think about that? If a manufacturer, like this is soft touch, if a manufacturer does stitching throughout plastics, do you really care? Or like, would you rather have, you know, actual full-on like soft touch material or leather or whatever? Now the 5.3's got torque right off the bat. Smooth. This is a nice thing about V8s, right? You've got that linear power delivery, which is strong. Don't really get that with a turbo engine, for the most part, right? Because you always got to spool up the turbos just a little bit at least. So, there's a slight difference. Yeah, and it's like a pretty immediate response. So I think that's pretty cool. Let's turn in here. Let's use this to turn around quickly. I guess we'll see the turning radius. We're definitely gonna have to go into reverse. Definitely gonna have to go into reverse. I like the sound of the V8, it's pretty cool. Got a nice torquey feel to it. Vroom, right? It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So, with the Yukon XL, I mean, this is the king. GM's SUVs are the king of full-size SUVs. So it's comfortable, it's got good power, it's got lots of space. So yeah, let's jump into the Jeep and sum up this comparison. Well, let's set off in the Wagoneer L. So right off the bat, it does feel more luxurious than the Yukon. Just sitting in it, the seats are a little more comfortable. The materials feel just kind of more high quality, less plasticky. I mean, the dash, for example, is soft touch. Might not look as fancy though to some of you because it only has like a little bit of stitching, but both the materials are stuff that lasts long term pretty darn well. When it comes to the ride, they're both good. The Jeep's a little bit better over the speed bumps, which would indicate that it's overall it's going to be a bit better. And what I'm noticing is, especially the rear end of the Jeep seems to, yeah, it seems to just it's not a huge difference, but it does seem to handle it a little bit better. I see that as a strong positive towards the Jeep. But the torque's actually pretty darn good on the low end. It doesn't have that quite like instant on-off switch that you get with the V8, but it's pretty darn close. As close as you can get for a non-hybrid turbo. Yeah, this ain't bad at all. Definitely, he's got more horsepower. You can feel that. Again, you can get a 6.2 V8 with the Yukon, but that's more money. Yeah, I'm about to have a. Oh man, I'm about to have a hot take. So let's just get it over with, since we're gonna be here for a minute. Sadly, sorry about that. GMC is and General Motors they're stingy with their engines. Jeep is stingy with features that, like tech features that it should just have. Here's what I mean. You have to pay big bucks to get the engine that you'd actually want to have in that Yukon, either the diesel or the 6.2 V8. In this, you got to pay big bucks to get stuff like a 360 camera. But then you get a good engine, you get a premium engine, premium interior, so it's kind of like, where do you value the money, right? Because they're almost the same amount of money. Do you value some of the tech stuff that the Yukon has, like the 360 camera? Or do you value the nicer materials in here and then the more premium powertrain? So it's going to be kind of which one you like more. I kind of lean towards the powertrain stuff because for me personally, I don't use, like with my cars, I literally just use the screen if it has heated and cooled seats built into the screen. Like that's what I use the screen for. In all my cars have physical buttons for them, so I literally only use the screen for the backup camera. And that is it. So I'm someone who doesn't care about tech, but I know a lot of people do care about the tech stuff. So let me know which way you'd go. I kind of lean towards the Jeep just because it feels a little bit more premium, and I like the powertrain performance as well.